Council meeting for the 7th of February 2024 officially open in our new council chambers. And I want to welcome everyone here who's joined us for this very special day today. I'd like to remind that everyone, in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice, that other than the public forum section, this meeting is being live streamed. And for the opening of the meeting, we do have the media who is also here with us. To start off today's proceeding, we will have the acknowledgement of country, which will be read by the chairman of the Gandagara Local Land Council, Uncle Troy Davis, and will be also followed by the prayer and affirmation of council, which will also be read by Pastor Claudio Aloisi from the Living Grace Christian Church, and then we'll have the national anthem. So could I please invite Uncle Troy to do the welcome to the acknowledgement to country.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Ned Manoon, and I'd like to also just say what a beautiful building you've got on our land, and also I'd like to acknowledge all the councillors that are here and everybody else as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land. My name is Troy Davis. I'm a proud Dunghutti man. On my mother's side, I'm a Bunjalung. For people that don't know where that is, that's up in Lismore where we've had the floods and we've lost a lot of our people. I'd also like to acknowledge the land that we're on, of the traditional owners of the land, which is the Gadigal people of the Liverpool area. We go from Sydney through to the mountains, the waterways which we live on. I'd also like to acknowledge our elders past and present, and also just like to acknowledge a few people that we've lost in our area, which has been a big hole in the community. We lost one of our young boys last week that died in an accident up at Mount Pritchard. I also like to acknowledge, which is what we usually do, we usually have a minute's silence at every meeting. And yeah, I'd just like to, if you could, stand as respect to our elders past and present and our younger generation that's coming, and our waterways. And our CEO, Dr. Melissa Williams, couldn't be here today. She sends her apologies. Thank you very much. Can somebody take the minutes? Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ned Manoon, councillors and everybody else. What a privilege and an honour it is to be part of this opening celebration of the council chambers. So thank you very much. We affirm our hope and dedication to the good government of our city and the well-being of all Liverpool's residents, no matter their race or creed. Today we affirm our hope for sound decision making by council, which will improve the quality of life in our city. We express our expectations and best wishes for Australia, our nation's future, the mayor, councillors and staff of council and all those associated with good government in Liverpool. Father, we just commit this day to you. We thank you for this day. We pray that you would so oversee and give the good governance to the mayor, to the councillors. May Liverpool be a beacon of light in what's ahead, Lord. I pray that this city of Liverpool would show the way forward in what it's like to live in harmony, embrace the diversity, that love would abound in this city, and that we would learn to honour and respect and love one another no matter what, who, where, and everything else in between. So we commit this all to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. And if we can now if I can invite everyone to please stand for the singing of the national anthem. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Councillors, there has been a request by Councillor Carneeb and Councillor Caliendo to attend the meeting remotely. I'd like to move that way. Do you have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Green. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Are there any apologies? Oh, great. Thank you, everyone. Just before we move into the official part of today's proceedings, I'm just going to call for a brief recess. Well, the media has already left, but just to give myself and the Deputy Mayor a moment to disrobe. So we'll just call a recess for till 2:15, please. Thank you, everyone. Everyone, I now declare the meeting officially resumed. We'll now move into the condolence motions, of which there are two. The first one is for Mrs. Katerina Oliveri. It's with great sadness that I offer my deepest condolences to the family of Miss Katerina Oliveri. Mrs. Oliveri arrived in Australia with her family back in 1949. They purchased a small market garden in Allambie Road at Denza Park, where they all lived and worked the small farm to make ends meet while looking after whatever employment they could find. In 1954, the family collectively purchased Route 41, Green Valley to Liverpool Station. In 2014, the family business Interline Bus Services expanded its offering to Region 2, servicing the Liverpool, Glenfield, Ingleburn, Bringelly and Hoxton Park regions. In February 21, Interline received its first electric bus, a BCI Citrider E, launched at Leppington Station. It was the first of a fleet of 10 electric buses being delivered in 21-22, which has now increased to 13. Most recently, Interline Bus Services operate a modern fleet of more than 110 buses from 2 depots on Macquarie Fields and Leppington across 25 bus routes. On October 8th, however, Region 2 has been passed on to Transsystems with Interline buses to cease trading. In recognition of Ms. Oliveri's contribution to our community, I propose that Liverpool Council extends our deepest condolences to her and her family. May she rest in eternal peace. Our other condolence motion is for Mr. Antonio Simonetta. It is with great sadness that I offer my deepest condolences to the family of Mr. Antonio Simonetta, a respected member of our community and the visionary founder of Perfection Fresh. Born in Italy, he and his family immigrated to Australia in 1955. Mr. Simonetta founded Perfection Fresh in 1978, which has grown to become one of Australia's largest private fresh fruit and vegetable producers, employing around 2,000 people. Antonio Simonetta was not just an accomplished entrepreneur. He was a local pioneer who transformed the landscape of the Australian fresh produce industry through his dedication and passion. As the founder of Perfection Fresh, he played a pivotal role in shaping the company into a leading force, known for its commitment to quality and excellence for over 40 years. Beyond his professional achievements, Mr. Simonetta was a generous, community-minded individual, actively engaging in initiatives that enrich the lives of those in Liverpool and beyond. His legacy extends beyond the boundaries of business, touching the hearts of many who were inspired by his leadership and commitment to making a positive impact. In recognition of Antonio Simonetta's outstanding contributions to our community and the broader Australian business sector, I propose that Liverpool Council extends our deepest condolences to his friends, family, and the entire Perfection First family. May he rest in eternal peace. And if I can move that those two condolences be received, all those in favour, against, declared, and can I ask for a minute of silence, please. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Our next item on the agenda is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 13th of December 2023. Moved, Councillor Hadid. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Are there any declarations of interest? We'll now move into the public forum of today's proceedings.
The simple facts to the matter is that this council did approve the community participation plan in 2022, where it does not require public exhibitions for DAs for dwelling houses, including alterations and additions to an existing dwelling house for lots greater than 300 square metres. And, Mr Mayor, when we made that decision, we certainly didn't envisage that we were taking away a person's right, as is everybody else's right under the community participation plan. And I feel that it might have been an oversight or just something that we hadn't completely considered, that might happen. And I think that this is an opportunity now that it has been brought to our attention that Council amend the community participation plan so that notifications will be given in much the same way as all other notifications in the instance of lots over 300 square metres. So it would be a simple alteration to the community participation plan, Mr Mayor. And I put that motion forward to Council now.
So can you just repeat the motion?
Yes, the motion would be that Council amend the community participation plan 2022 so that notifications will be given to lots over 300 metres square in much the same way as Council notifies other similar situations for development applications.
Do you have a seconder for that motion?
I will second, Mayor.
Suggest a little tidy up if based on the information that we have, if we could say, there it is, in the same way as we notify lots under 300 square metres. Because that's quite well set out in the community participation plan, and if we just adopt that for lots over 300 square metres, we're doing the same thing for everybody.
Happy with that amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Green? Councillors, please turn off your microphones when you finish speaking,
it was actually
please.
me that I was next in line. I just thought that this has gone through a lot of thought, maybe take it back to a governance meeting or some type of a briefing so we make the proper decisions, not just off the floor, move it and do it. So maybe just a bit more consideration, a bit more time to actually look at it further so we don't make the same mistake as what's happened here.
Yeah, is the mover happy for that, or can we maybe ask for the CEO for some further information on the matter?
Can we seek some council advice on the matter?
Mayor, can I make a suggestion in terms of wording to capture the concerns raised by Councillor Moon?
Yeah, just one moment. The call's with the CEO, but we'll get to you in a moment, Councillor Calienda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, if you were to say that you're now going to deal with all lots in the same manner, irrespective of whether they're over 300 square metres or under 300 square metres, using the exact same principles that have applied to over 300 square metres, then that clearly simplifies it. However, it is really difficult for myself or the Director for Planning to say that we have considered every single aspect of what this would mean and how it would impact on the community as a whole, when at the time you passed the resolution for under 300 square metres, there was quite a bit of extensive consultation, extensive feedback. So my advice to you would be that if you would send this to the next governance meeting, then that would give us an opportunity to do a little bit more work and ascertain if we need to do a bit more consultation. But at the end of the day, it is a matter for council.
This one. Councillor Calienda?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think this tackles an issue that is consistently raised with me by residents as well, which is the lack of notification of development applications and other issues of interest to them, particularly as neighbours. I appreciate the CEO's comments in relation to, wanting a little bit more nuance around the situation. So I was going to suggest perhaps a second action point to look at some of those factors at a governance meeting. But my view is that anything that expands the notification that residents receive about what happens on their doorstep and things that they are directly impacted by is a good thing. As we've heard from the gentleman in the public forum, these are issues that our residents have to live with afterwards, and if they are not given the opportunity to have their say, then that's a huge shame. So if this helps address the notification issues that are raised by residents quite consistently, then perhaps it's worthwhile amending that initially with a view to having a governance, an item on the governance committee agenda to kind of look at other ways that this can be dealt with as well, if that's amenable to to Councillor Rhodes as the mover.
Well, just one sec. And Councillor Hadid?
Yeah, well, look, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this motion should be amended in a way that council amend the community participation plan so that notification will be given to any DI. It's not only the size of the lots. Any DI is lodged before the council. Any DI. Not only,
Green?
not only the size of the.
Could I suggest, particularly with the governance, if it goes to the governance meeting, if we could do that, because I think it's important that we understand the context of how we arrived at the decision that we did. We've clearly been presented today with an unintended consequence, and we need to understand how we made the decision and how this has occurred and how we can go about arriving at a better outcome for our residents. So I support the idea of the governance.
Well, councillors, it's evident that people want to make would like to make a change, especially of the information that's been brought forward. The CEO has indicated that it does have there are implications in doing so that require further discussion. Council has recommended that we do this in a governance committee. So without taking away anyone's right to, unless Councillor Howe, you want to say, Councillor Goodman, you want to say something? So, Councillor, do you want to say something now, Councillor Howe? Yeah, can you just turn on your mic, and can I ask councillors to turn off their mic, please?
Purple? No, thank you. Need to figure this out, how this works. Anyway, look, it gets more complicated than that. It shouldn't just be about DAs. If there are changes occurring to a property of a neighbour that council knows about, and we do have private certifiers, and private certifiers have an obligation to do that, to notify the neighbours. Quite often that doesn't happen, and therefore those residents contact council and say, what's going on? And as a councillor, I get a fair few of those questions as well. So I think we really need to debate this at a level where we can take into those considerations as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Goodman?
I was just regarding the same thing. Were these properties actually approved CDC or through council? If it's CDC, the certifier did not have to notify the neighbours either.
But I guess...
if we change the policy with council, that does not change anything with the CDC code.
Oh, yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Council gets a copy of
It's a SEP.
So
Council gets a copy of the CDC just before they start construction.
I'll just put a question to the CEO. So if, and it's a very valid point, because if under the state environmental planning policy, if a private certifier issues a compliant development certificate, what are the notification requirements, and does residents have a right to object?
I'll ask the Director of Planning and Compliance.
I was going to actually ask the same question through the CEO and the Mayor to Karishma, because she's in state government and she should be able to shed some light on this.
Yeah, I think Councillor Kelly, I think what Councillor Moon is referring to is the changes that you want to make to council's policy. Would you like that applied to the compliant development certificates issued under the SEP by private certifiers?
Look, I would be more than happy to advocate for, compliant development certificates that go through to a private certifier to be included in this. However, I don't believe that can be done through a decision of council. So perhaps it should be worded as advocate for that to occur.
I think Councillor was referring. Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I think that's what Councillor was considering. You're in New South Wales Parliament as we speak, I assume, with Parliament sitting today. So, yeah, great. I'll just refer back to the CEO, to the relevant director.
Director of Planning.
Through the CEO, there are some notification requirements associated with CDCs. They're outlined in the relevant state environmental policy. The notification is purely a notification. It works a little bit differently to a DA process where there's a submission aspect in response to that notification.
So there is no, through the CEO, there is no particularly right of objection. It's more of a notification that, yeah.
The intent is more so of a notification.
So under the proposed changes that New South Wales government is discussing, where people could build, what we'd consider high density dwellings at the moment, up to, I think, was it 4 stories through a private certifier, has there been indication if, will that once again be complying where there is no right to object and it can happen immediately?
Through the CEO, with the changes that have been reflected in the recent amendments to the SEP, there doesn't appear to be any specific notification requirements that are different to what's already in the SEP. So those developments that are afforded by that bonus will follow the same notification process.
So someone can build a block of units without any right of objection, and it can just get approved through a certifier.
Through the CEO, I'll take that one on notice. There's certain complying development. We're talking about complying development. At the moment, a block of units under this new strategy is intended to be under the state significant development pathway, but anything that's not a block of units that would be a CDC, a local CDC, has those standard notification requirements.
That's what, Councillor Kalinda, do you have any further information for us about those proposed changes?
I believe there is a more sort of wholesome review of the system that is in place through the work of the building commissioner and some of the reforms in that space. I'm happy to take it on notice and provide some more information.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. So, look, I think is the Councillor Rhodes right to reply? But are you happy to defer this, or?
No, I'm not happy to defer it. I'll take on board what Councillor Calianda has offered in consideration, and in fact all the councillors' opinions on this matter. And I think that it is advisable that we take it to a governance committee as suggested, and try and discuss what is going on. There's obviously a lot more involved than even what we had brought to our attention here today. And I thank Mr. Calianda Leo for bringing it to Council's attention. Because there does seem to be a great concern within this council over matters, and I think it's best that we attack it and address it. So I would like that the motion to read that council take to the nearest, take to a governance committee before the end of March, if that is appropriate, so the council can give this the attention it deserves to make sure that people are being given equal rights and are not being discriminated based on the size of the lots being subdivided. And I think we'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor, and wait for the advice to come back about CDCs and state significant developments and everything else where it seems that council does not have the necessary powers. But it was very, very clear that this is about constituents being treated unequally. And if we can do anything about that, then we certainly must.
Thank you. Do you want to add another point about, or that this also include the notification provisions for current CDCs and for future proposed modification to the SEP? Yep. Yep. Sorry. Did you want to?
The only council, if I can recommend, after your last word subdivided, I would add the words in regard to the Community Participation Plan 2022, because that's what we're talking about.
And then we do need the extra point in there as the Mayor has recommended.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Happy with that motion.
Yep.
Great. Is the seconder happy with that? Councillor Calianda? I just speak. Don't. Okay. No, I've got Councillor Calianda. Councillor Calianda, you.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just reading through the wording again. Can I just clarify where it actually specifies that changes will be immediately made? Because my understanding of the discussion was that was what councillors were supportive of, that we want immediate changes to occur so that broader notification can take place and people aren't put in the same place as Mr. Colillo. And, the sort of next step would be to take it to a governance committee.
I think, so you want to make the changes and then get a briefing about the impact of the changes at the governance committee? Or,
Yes, and what else can be done?
but don't you think we should know?
Through you, Councillor Rhodes, was that what you were sort of intending?
Yeah, I guess.
Clearly what you're stating, Councillor Caliander, just tell me again.
So my understanding of the discussion was that we want the changes in terms of notification to be made now, and then a broader discussion to occur at the governance committee to understand the impact of the changes and also what other measures can be implemented to ensure that notification is as robust as possible.
As much as Yeah, thank you, Councillor Caliander. I understand now. And as much as I would love to do that, I'm afraid it was the CEO's information that said that would be problematic. So I don't think that we've got any other option except to take it to the governance committee so that it can be, so that all things can be put on the table. And I look forward to your contribution to that discussion and that we come up with greater notifications in general about development applications. Our community is clearly calling out for that, and it's up to us as councillors to be able to do that as much as we possibly can.
Yep, thank you. And I think, Councillor Caliander, I think it's important that prior to making changes, it's important that councillors know the effect of those changes prior to making them, rather than the other way around. And that's, I guess, why we have that governance committee. That's a good opportunity to really unpack things right there and then. And also, for any change to happen, it does have to go on public exhibition, so the community does have an opportunity to have its say.
That's fair. I was just clarifying because my understanding of the discussion was that that's what people wanted to do. So just to make sure that I had the understanding of the situation correctly, I wanted to clarify. So appreciate that.
Yep. 1 second. So are you still supporting the motion? Are you happy to second it still?
Sure.
That was the question. So happy to second it. Look, we've had, the speaker has had their right of reply. I see no two councillors that want to make comments. Can I ask that to be very brief, please?
Yep, no worries. Well, look, Mr. Mayor, I believe this motion has been, we should have put another
what are you proposing, councillor?
This is number one, that council take this item, and number two, that council lobby the state government to change the rules in regard of the CDC. CDC, sorry.
CDC.
Yep.
Look, I think,
Well, we have to do it that way, because if council has no power over the private certifiers, we can help the community.
We get it. Councillor Green?
Might I suggest that that second point, because it is important that we understand how the private certifiers interplay with that. So, I mean, we can still incorporate that within the motion. So at the governance committee meeting. So once we understand what's happening, well then, a further motion can then come to council, or we can make a decision at the governance committee to then, to write to the state government and raise this as a particular issue. Once we understand what that interplay is with, how the private certifiers may also impact on these decisions and experiences.
Okay, so does point 2 as it's being written cover that? And Councillor Hadid, is that what you intended? You happy with that? Is the mover and seconder happy with point 2? Absolutely. Councillor Calienda?
Absolutely.
Yep, great. That being said, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against, I declare it unanimous. Thank you. We're now moving to mayoral minutes.
Our first mayoral minute was regarding Councillor Mazza Hadid in the Order of Australia Medal. I'm delighted to bring before the council mayoral minute to extend our heartfelt congratulations to Councillor Mazza Hadid, OAM, on being awarded the Order of Australia Medal. This prestigious honour is a testament to Councillor Hadid's outstanding service and dedication to our community. Councillor Hadid has consistently demonstrated exceptional leadership, commitment and passion in serving the residents of Liverpool. The Order of Australia Medal is a symbol of Councillor Hadid's unwavering commitment to public service and his significant impact on the lives of those within Liverpool. His exemplary leadership and dedication to community welfare make him a role model for all. Councillor Hadid has served as a councillor in Liverpool City Council since 2008, including periods as Deputy Mayor from 2012 to 2014, 2020 to 21. Councillor Hadid was also a founder of the Australian Islamic House in 1992 and has served as its president since 2010. I invite my fellow councillors to join me in expressing our admiration and appreciation for Councillor Hadid's outstanding service to Liverpool. May this recognition inspire us to all continue working towards the betterment of our community. Indeed, I think it deserves a round of applause. Is there any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? I declare it unanimous.
Councillor Hadid didn't vote for it.
Conflict of interest. Have a note in the minutes. The Councillor Hadid did not vote for himself.
Which means it's a no vote.
It means you voted against yourself. Then.
It's a no vote.
Our next item is congratulating Ms. Sonia Marshall, the new Chief Executive of the South West Sydney Local Health District. It's with great delight that I congratulate Ms. Sonia Marshall on her appointment as a Chief Executive Officer of the South West Sydney Local Health District. Ms. Marshall brings a wealth of experience to this position, notably serving as the Executive Director of Nursing and Midwifery Services for 7 years. Her leadership, particularly in advancing nursing and midwifery services, has set a high standard for healthcare excellence. We are confident that her skills and commitment will significantly benefit the South West Sydney Local Health District and, by extension, our community. We look forward to witnessing the positive impact she will undoubtedly make in her new role and maintaining our enduring support for our local health district. And I'd like to move that Council writes to Ms. Marshall, extending our congratulations on her appointment as Chief Executive of the South West Sydney Local Health District. 2, request a meeting with Ms. Marshall to discuss her vision for the South West Local Health District and health in South West Sydney.
Mr Mayor, can I add a point to that with your indulgence? Can we write to the outgoing CEO, Amanda Larkin, and thank her for her work over the years that she has put into the position?
Yeah, I think we covered Ms. Larkin in a previous mayoral minute, but definitely I think I'm happy to add that again because of the work and effort that she did.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Any further discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Outgoing, rather than outcoming. I declare the motion unanimous. Our next item is Australia Day. On Australia Day, we came together as a nation to celebrate what's great about Australia and being Australian. It's a day to reflect on what we have achieved as a nation. As other LGAs turn their back on Australia Day, I believe it's important that we come together and celebrate the sense of a fair go, our democracy and our freedoms. At the same time, Australia recognises the profound and enduring contributions by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people who have been an integral part of this land for over 65,000 years. In Liverpool, at our recent Australia Day celebrations, we welcomed 50 new Australian citizens into our LGA before celebrating in the quintessential Aussie way with a big barbecue at Big Park. Australia Day celebrations are not exclusive. They are inclusive and embrace the diverse cultures, traditions, and belief systems that enrich our nation. Let's continue to reflect, celebrate, and embrace all people from all walks in life in Liverpool, whilst working collaboratively to build an even brighter future for all. I urge the Council to support this motion. And I'd like to move that Council reaffirm its enduring support for celebrating Australia Day on the 26th of January, recognising it
So if you can just go back up. Recognizing it as a day to pay homage to the contributions of all Australians who have lived, worked and fought for the values and freedoms we cherish. 2, acknowledges the popularity of Australia Day, with thousands of locals actively participating in events organised by council and community groups. 3, congratulates the 50 new Australian citizens on the 26th of January who chose this day to become citizens, symbolising the inclusivity and diversity that thrives in our LGA. And I'd like to formally put that. Is there any discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Sorry.
Council. Yep, go for it.
I'd just like to, I guess it's a little side note, but I'd like to thank staff for everything they did for the celebrations on Australia Day in Big Park. It was an amazing event, really popular, very crowded, great vibe, excellent weather. So thank you very much for all of the work that went into that. I saw lots of positivity in that park and everybody was having a great day. So thank you to the staff.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, Mr Mayor, with your indulgence, I was wondering if you would consider another point, just saying that Australia will continue to recognise the original custodians of the land. The original custodians of the...
Yeah, the CEO is advising that it's more about, it's what we can do. So we can, council can recognise, not we can't speak on behalf of Australia. We only speak on behalf of Liverpool.
Council continues to recognise. Sorry, thank you very much, Mr CEO.
Yep.
So the point would be, that council continue to recognise the original custodians of the land.
Yep. Happy with that. Councillor Moon?
Mr Mayor, through the CEO, again, I would like to say thank you to all the staff that participated in putting together the Australia Day celebrations. I actually attended between 7:30 and 8:30, 8:45. Great vibe. The kids were watching TV. They were watching some cartoons in the backgrounds. Family were buying a lot of food. They were enjoying the atmosphere. It was a great show, and would like to see a lot more of that happening in our LGA. Bring families together and creating an atmosphere for people to come out of their houses to enjoy the actual area is a great thing to do. Thank you very much.
And I know you had thank you, Councilman. I know you had a box of Australian flags, and how long did that take to get to hand out?
Literally 3 minutes.
All right. So it was it was a lot of people wanting their flags. Councillor Hadid?
Well, just a question, Mr. Mayor. You adding these ones that council continue to recognise the original custodian of the land. Anyone suggest we have to stop it? So why are we putting that ones?
You've got a point.
What for?
Sorry.
If it didn't break, why are you going to fix it?
Okay. Perhaps it should read that council reaffirms to continue to recognise, just the same as the first motion, if that would be more correct wording.
I think it's the Councillor Hadid's point is just that it's we obviously have a very good relationship with our land council and what we do and work with each other. So it's not doing. Sorry.
That I think, someone suggests to stop it. So I believe it's useless.
Can I suggest an amendment? Over. Councillor, would you consider saying that council reaffirms its recognition of the original custodians of the land, full stop? All you're doing is reaffirming the existing recognition.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Hadid?
The council reaffirms, get rid of continue.
So can you put your microphone on, please?
Acknowledging the owner of the land. Just forget about it. We will continue to do what we have to do.
Yep, I see your point. Is there any further discussion?
So are we keeping that point in or are we taking it off?
Council reaffirms its recognition of the original custodians of the land. That's it. All you're doing is reaffirming what you already recognise.
I think that to answer your question, Councillor, that it's in there, that it's the point's made, and probably should. Yeah, it don't think it does that much harm, but
No, it's councillor's motion, not mine.
it's my mayoral minute actually.
Her amendment.
The yeah. Yeah, great. And I think what we're trying to do, if I can say, is that ultimately is that when we're doing citizenship ceremonies, people are very pleased to receive their citizenship on Australia Day. And whilst and I actually received mine on Australia Day, I think it was 1997-6, and it does cause confusion. Whilst we understand there are people have views on that date that are differing, but I think for new Australians, it's a part of being symbolizing the patriotism that bringing us all together. That is the day that brings us all together. And if we want to veer from that, then it's just going to make it confusing to our new Australians. And I think it's important that everybody gets behind Australia Day. And maybe let me be a bit clearer on that. I'll add another point to my motion. Let me just think about it for a moment. So the council, I'd say, puts all effort in to ensure that Australia Day is celebrated on the 26th of January and is the day that brings us together rather than divides us. Perfect. All right. Any other further discussion?
Just on point 5, can we just change the first word notes to thanks?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
No? All right. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? All those in favour? Against? Declare it unanimous. Thank you. Next item is community forums. Late last year, Council conducted a series of community forums for the suburbs of Watergrove, Hammondville, Carnshill, Liverpool, Hoxton Park and Prestons. These forums have been about sitting with the community and listening to their concerns, ideas and suggestions. Understanding the perspectives and experiences on the ground is crucial for effective governance and decision-making. The significance of these forums lies in their role as a platform for residents to express their thoughts directly to the Council. It's essential that this listening translate into action. Council is committed to not only hearing but also acting upon the feedback received, ensuring that the community's concerns shape policies and initiatives. Moving forward, we will continue to value and integrate the insights gained from these forums, working collaboratively to bring about positive change that truly reflects the needs and aspirations of our community. And I'd like to move that Council brings a report back to the February Council meeting with an update on actions taken on the issues raised at the community meetings. Any discussion?
Just to reiterate that I think these have been an amazing experience for us and for residents, and opening up that dialogue a lot more freely than we had been in the past. So more than supportive of continuing down this path and getting that report brought back so that we can keep on top of issues raised.
Excellent.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I would just reiterate exactly what the Deputy Mayor has said. I think that this is one of the most important functions of council. We must listen to our community and we must be accountable to what they say. I think this is a good motion and I thank you for putting it up.
Thank you. And I want to thank particularly all the staff who have come out in the evening to participate. I think the community has been very impressed, as of the council, by the amount of senior staff who have been there. So thank you all very much. All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it unanimous. Last but not least is Austral Cabinet meeting. The status of the roads in Austria remains diabolical. Liverpool is doing the heavy lifting with housing. We are set to host a new international airport. We are holding up our end and doing our part. Now we need the state government to do theirs and invest in infrastructure upgrades to support the ongoing growth and end the traffic debacles in Austria once and for all. Austria will serve as a key strategic corridor for the new international airport, but at this point in time, it will be nowhere near ready to face the facilitating opening in 2026. Sorry, to face the facility opening in 2026. We are watching a planning tragedy unfold in front of us in our backyard. Enough is enough. We need the state government to see what is happening on a daily basis at 15th Avenue, Edmondson Avenue, 4th Avenue, and Cow Pasture Road. We have a demand for education provision right now. We have an undersupply of schools. The amenity, maintenance, and infrastructure surrounding the West Sydney parklands is dangerous and unsustainable. I would like to invite the Premier and Cabinet to Austria on a weekday morning at their earliest convenience to witness the seriousness of the traffic and undersupply of infrastructure in the west side of Liverpool LGA. And I'd like to move that Council writes to the Premier, Chris Minns, and invites the New South Wales Cabinet, as well as the Member for Leppington, Nathan Haggerty, to site visit in Austria to witness the seriousness of the traffic and critical undersupply of infrastructure, education, noting that the role of the suburb of Austria is playing an important part in tackling the housing crisis and providing a travel corridor to the new international airport. Is there any discussion?
Once again, Mr Mayor, that is a matter that, as a councillor, we hear so much about from the community, and I thank you for putting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Our next item is the notice of motion of rescission, NOMR01, page 49, tab 1, with recommendation on page 50. And that was... Does anybody care to move the motion?
I'll move the motion.
Moved Councillor Green, seconded Councillor Harrell. Any discussion?
Can I get some further advice about this as to whether council had actually actioned? And what happens when you've already started action?
So yours is it's a procedural matter versus
Yes.
actual the substance.
Yes.
All right. On that note, then I have to deal with the procedural stuff first, Councillor Green. Sorry. Yes. Yes, please.
Thank you. Advice received states the following. Firstly, there is no reason why you cannot move a notice of rescission or put in a notice of rescission to the CEO, whether it's days or weeks after the original motion. So the notice of rescission ticks that box. Secondly, the notice of rescission can be dealt with because it has an alternate amendment in it as to what's being put. However, as the notice of rescission was not put in on the day the motion was first passed, it does not create a stay in the proceedings of the previous motion that was passed, and council was able and council officers were able to continue to work on that original motion, including consultation. So that has continued, and now the matter comes before in a valid way for council to consider whether they support the notice of motion or they rescission, or they reject the notice of rescission. Full stop.
Great. Are you satisfied with that answer, Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I successfully got my microphone on. Thank you. That's clear. So there is no procedural reason why the motion should not be heard.
Correct.
When you say that the council continued on, in what way is that possible to be answered now, Mr. Mayor? I'm not too sure about the procedure.
Yes, yeah.
So just in what way has?
Yes, thank you. So, if you look at the original motion, it required that council officers, through the CEO, undertake certain work, including, for example, consultation. We've continued to do that work pending this notice of rescission. We did not stop that work. We were permitted, on the advice received, to continue that work.
Just one further question then. So on the matter of consultation, was that still continuing? Because the motion contained something about continuing for 3 weeks after Australia Day.
Yeah, so the consultations continued and is still continuing. Arrangements have been made for consultation to continue. So if the notice of rescission is not successful, then we have already set those dates for the consultation, and I can have the director give the specific dates. If the notice of rescission is successful, then we would obviously go in accordance with the new motion that is before you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Green.
So I'm understanding this correctly then. What you're saying is that the land that we're talking about, that has proceeded?
No. So, sorry, you have to...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, I know. We still have to do quite a bit of work before we complete and issue contracts. If this notice of rescission does not go through, then we'll continue in accordance with the original notice, and we will continue to prepare the contracts, prepare the plans of subdivision, do all the work that's required, have our lawyers issue contracts to the solicitors for the club. So that work is being done, but we are nowhere near at this stage of issuing the contract, exchanging the contract, if that's the question that you're asking me. We are still undertaking some of the consultation, and work is still being undertaken in preparing all of the appropriate documentation through the lawyers, etc.
You finished? If I may, just one further.
It's a green.
We turn it on, it turns itself off, Mr. Just to make it clear, so do the constituents have the opportunity to be consulted under the existing motion prior to the sale of any land?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, remembering that even with just the aspect of preparing the plan of subdivision, there has to be consultation with the community in relation to that, and then things will come back, and then aspects still have to come back to council once that's taken place. But the point is, your resolution that was passed, again, if it is not rescinded, allows us as council officers to undertake all of that work that is necessary for that to occur, in accordance with the motion you passed.
Okay, great. So, just sorry, Councillor Rhodes. I just want to make sure, Councillor Green, you asked the question. Did you want to speak for your rescission motion?
I think basically that the consultation with the community was integral to the rescission motion in light of the feedback that I have received and other councils have received, where residents were very upset about a council decision to sell land before consultation was done. Usually, in my experience with consultation, you have a proposal which you take to the community, conduct the consultation, and then look at how that then informs the decision. You take community with you. In this instance, and the way that the original motion was put before council, communicated or we gave the perception that the sale of the land was going through, and then we would consult with residents, and that was the point that people were very, very unhappy with.
Right. Thank you. I'll get to you in a moment, Councillor Hadid. Just a procedural matter. So, Councillor, should the rescission motion succeed? So I know there are a lot. It's been brought to my attention that there are very similarities because your motion is talking for the original motion talks about community consultation. Your motion is also talking for community consultation. And I remember at the last council meeting, we removed the word execute from the contract, so that's from the motion. Therefore, the motion had to come back to council after hearing the family. But under section 10.9 of the Code of Meeting Practice, a motion or an amendment to that requires the expenditure of funds must identify the funding source. So I'm just wondering, and just with regards to your motion, if I can just have it be brought up there. So can I just get some clarification? Because number one, it doesn't identify a funding source. When you say direct mail to the residents across Liverpool LGA, do you mean all the residents of Liverpool LGA or just a section of them?
I think because we're talking about public land and ratepayer, that's council's land, ratepayers' land. We're talking about all ratepayers. That the consultation, as I have experienced it on this matter, was confined to one particular area. And I think that's the other issue that people have brought up, is that it should not, the consultation needs to be much broader. I would be interested to hear what the ideas of consultation are in terms of what is proposed over the next 3 weeks. If we can capture as many that a much broader field than just within the Hammondville or Wattle Grove area, then that if there's a wider promotion of the issue and of what is actually being put before council, then that may satisfy that we have conducted a robust consultation process.
So can you, just for the purpose of this motion, and so there's no ambiguity, can you define, is there a certain list of suburbs, or once again, is it the whole Liverpool LGA?
I think I was raising the concern there that the consultation that had occurred was only in 2 very specific contexts. That it needed to be much broader than that. In terms of
I get that.
Yep. Okay. Well,
so I guess for the purpose of the motion, because what we need to do is work out the amount of money required to do the consultation. Which, sure, as the original motion, everyone's happy to do consultation. But if you want it broader, where do you stop? Do you go to Chipping Norton? Do you go to Hoxton Park? Do you go to Austral?
If we can
do you go to Greendale?
A broader social media promotion across the community pages.
Let me bring it specifically. So you say direct mail. So just with regards to direct mail, how that has to go into letterboxes, being direct mail. Social media is a different thing. That's the next point, because I just under the Code of Meeting Practice, we do have to get ourselves a number on this. So when you say direct mail, do you have a list of suburbs, or do you want every suburb or suburbs within X amount of kilometers? The stuff we just need a way to work it out.
I understand that.
Sorry, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Sorry. I understand that. If we're adopting a much broader consultation period and scope of promotion, if it's okay with my co-signees, I'd be happy to withdraw direct mail out from the rescission motion.
Well, it's fine. I'm happy to do it. Just more about, I guess, how far did you want it to go?
Well, I know particularly residents of Moorebank, Chipping Norton, were very concerned.
Yep.
So if those areas could be included in a mail out, otherwise from a broader social media I would be happy with that.
Did you want it to jump the river to Casula, Liverpool CBD, Warwick Farm?
I don't think so. I think maybe, although I know it was the residents of Moorebank that were more concerned. But what I'm saying is that if we're going to engage in a much broader social media campaign and letting people know that this is what is happening, the sale of council of assets, so that people at least have a right. This is about people's citizenship and being,
we get that, but it's
being able to participate in decision making, which is really important. So, as I say, I would be happy rather than direct mail to all LGA, to the Chipping Norton and Moorebank area.
So let's say if you did East Liverpool, Chipping Norton, Moorebank, Holsworthy, Watergrove, Hammondville, Voyager Point, Pleasure Point.
Okay.
Is that that covers? I think everything in. Okay, that covers everything in East Liverpool. Looking to you, Deputy Mayor, knowing being the East Liverpool resident here.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Councillor, can you turn off your microphone for a sec? That's I think that's all the suburbs.
I think you've covered that, Mr. Mayor. When we have the opportunity, because we've kind of gone into a motion, we're talking about a motion before we voted on the rescission motion.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get clarification to make sure that if the rescission motion gets up, because I just need to quantify this from a code of meeting practice. If the motion is not,
perfect.
if the alternate motion is not proper. So, okay, so my understanding is around 18,000 dwellings in that area. So 20,000. So, Councillor Green, now when you say direct mail, do you mean an addressed letter? So, dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith of 10 John Street, Watergrove? Or do you mean a piece of junk mail wrapped up with the Domino's flyers?
I think to the registered householders where we would, I guess, send rates to the, whoever that householder is.
So when you say registered, do you mean registered mail?
No.
Okay, not registered mail. Sorry, you just used that word. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not trying to make this more complex.
No, we just got to be clear, because the last thing another CEO's indicated, he wants to make sure that there's exact clarity, because he didn't want to be accused of not implementing the motion to the extent that you wanted.
Councillor Rhodes has offered that maybe the best way is to all residents in South Ward.
All residents of South Ward. So Chipping Norton's not in the South Ward. So did you want to include Chipping Norton? You can do South Ward plus Chipping Norton.
Yep. Yes, please.
Okay, so all South Ward suburbs. So we're talking about part of Liverpool, Casula, Preston's, Carnes Hill, part Austral.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, look. There's an easy way to do that.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask one thing?
Yep.
We're going out like over and above, I believe, because now.
That's right, Councillor. I have to cut you off there, because I need to make sure I'm just dealing with the procedural side without actually discussing the merits of the motion. So I just need to procedurally get this right in the first instance. So my point. I know Councillor Hadid has been waiting very patiently. So if you were just from a rough zone, if you want to do South Ward, there's 260,000 residents. There's around, I think, roughly 80,000 dwellings in the LGA. They should be split evenly. So if you then assumed 40,000 dwellings, Chipping Norton has around 3,500 dwellings, roughly, from my recollection. So if you were to say around between 40 to 45,000, and just for the purpose of expenditure, we got to work that out. So 45,000 dwellings. Now you're saying you want it addressed to the rate payer, the person paying the rates of that dwelling?
Yes.
So to the rate pay. So if you're renting then, because there's a lot of rate pay, there's, I think 30% of Liverpool, I forget the number actually off the top of my head, but 30% rings a bell of people renting or owning, I forget exactly. So I'm just concerned then if you then send a letter, like I'm renting, so I wouldn't get it, for example, in Preston's. we can do it.
Well, I suspect the person who is paying the rates is the ratepayer.
Correct, yep.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but the ratepayer, if someone lives in, I don't know, if somebody lives in Dulwich Hill, for example, and they own a investment property in Wattle Grove, the letter would go to Dulwich Hill to that person versus the actual resident living in the area. So yeah. So you're happy for it to go to the person who pays the rates versus the actual resident in the area.
I prefer the residents in the area
Yep.
because they are the people that will be affected.
Yep.
You know,
So what was that, Councillor Goodman? Yeah, I guess, yeah. So did you want it, we can,
well,
because the ratepayer is paying the rates.
all right, well, if that's what,
So, okay.
that's the advice you're giving me, then include
No, I'm
that.
just trying to, so if we do a direct mail to ratepayers in South Ward, so that's 40,000 dwellings, then if you wanted to then get, and plus chipping Norton, right? And then I guess the only way, because council doesn't have a copy of the electoral roll, so we don't actually know who lives in our LGA. The members of parliament have copies of the electoral roll. So then you'd have to do an unaddressed mail out to the area as well. So if you want to cover ratepayers and you want to cover residents, you'd have to do both, and it's too hard to work out which. So if you did both, so a 40,000 direct mail out, or subject to the final number, and a 40,000 unaddressed mail out. Now, I've been advised from staff a direct mail out. I've been advised a direct mail out would cost, I don't know if CEO, if you can confirm this, but I've got this from your staff, that your printing setup postage envelope is 15 cents, postage is $1.20 for each one, so you're looking at $1.35. I don't know, CEO,
Look, from experience, it works out to about $1.50, give or take a little bit.
All right.
So I've always operated on $1.50
Yep.
for direct mail out.
So $1.50 times that by 40,000, we're talking about $60,000. Okay, almost there. Thank you for patience, everyone. And an unaddressed mail out, I would generally use a rule of thumb of 50 cents by the time you put it in an envelope and do all that sort of stuff.
Still got to have a postage, so still costs $1.
No, you can do unaddressed, like a junk mail, unstamped. Yeah, unstamped.
50 cents.
So let's just say, be mindful of time, 50 cents, that gives you 20,000. Cool.
Need 80 grand.
80 grand. Are you happy with that, Councillor Green? I had to get to that number somehow
Yep, that's fine.
to make the motion valid.
That's fine. I
Okay.
just had that on the public record that the intent and the spirit of the rescission motion is purely to ensure that
Yeah, so we're not.
people had the opportunity
Yep.
to be consulted, that at none
Yep.
of the consultations that
Yep.
I was present at was the idea of selling council land part of the proposal. Now, we can dance around at all sorts of, let me clarify it, but, at the end of
Sorry,
the day.
excuse me, Councillor.
Look,
I'm referring. I have to refer you to the section of the Code of Meeting Practice, which I stated before. We now need to identify the funding source for $80,000. So if you are referring to what we've just done as a dancing around exercise, I would take offence to that. But I'm not going to assume that you did that.
No, I'm not
Unless
saying,
you're-
but, I've sat here in this chamber and have
Yeah.
had many motions that have been put forward
Yep.
that have not been attached to any funding source as
Yep.
well. So I'm just saying that
Yep.
it's interesting that, in a way, this is being treated a little differently
Oh,
to
sorry.
the way
So yes, Deputy
other
Mayor.
motions have been.
Case, Mr Mayor, that since some time back last year, we have always, or whenever it was, we've had to have a funding source for every motion put forward, and we will have this debate on the floor until we get a funding source for a motion put
Yep.
forward, or the motion won't be put forward, and that has happened in this chamber for every meeting.
Yep. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All we need, Councillor Green, now is if we've got to the number of $80,000 for the point one of your motion, you know what? What was it? The electronic signboards and all that? Let's just round it up to $90,000 if you don't want to go through go through the process. Do you have a funding source?
No, Mr Mayor, I do not.
Or can I recommend through the general fund, or maybe can I ask the CEO, could you maybe ask through your directors a funding source that we could fund the mail out from?
Mr Mayor, I'm not aware of a funding source. I've not considered a funding source. I'm happy to ask the Director, Mrs Tina Bono, if she has a funding source as part of her.
Thank you. Through C. Sorry. There's provision in the budget to do consultation, but direct mail out is indifferent to what we normally do, so there isn't a funding source at this point in time.
Yep. Well, yeah, great. So look, I'll make it easy. Can we just say $90,000 from general fund? Is will that be, that's legal? I'm getting a nod from the Director of Corporate Support. All right.
If council moves the motion and identifies the source,
Great.
yes.
Done. That's all I needed. Thank you. But can I just ask in future, Mr. CEO, that if you've had this motion, I imagine this was received a couple of weeks ago. Can I ask that this exercise gets done with the councillors and provide them with the support required, so we don't have to go through this process on the floor of council, because there's been a lot of discussion regarding this matter, especially in the public domain. And as Councillor Green has noted, the consultation is very important, but it's important that a proper motion, when it's put onto the agenda, is legal under section 10.9 of the Code of Meeting Practice.
Just the 22nd of December.
So it was lodged 22nd December.
The 22nd of December
Yeah.
it was lodged, so it's several weeks ago,
Yeah.
not just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so this could have been done with staff.
I take the point.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hadid. Indeed you can. Thank you for your patience.
Well, my question to the CEO, does council staff start any of the process after the council passed the resolution?
Yes.
If the council start, let me remind you of the rule. The rule is simple as that. Once council adopt a resolution, any rescission of motion, it will be invalid because of the beneficiary start acting upon the resolution. So we wasted 45 minutes for illegal and invalid rescission of motion. Thank you very much.
Look, yeah,
That's not correct.
Councillor Hadid, I've got to, the CEO did get legal advice on this matter over the Christmas period.
Mr. Mayor, please. Please, I know the law, I know your role. I've been 16 years on this council. We wasted 45 minutes for illegal rescission of motion. From the day one, from the beginning, you said you and the CEO made it crystal clear, the resolution passed by the council, okay, acted upon it. As simple as that.
Look, Councillor Hadid, I've got to say,
Thank you very much.
to a point, I don't actually
Let me
disagree.
go and have a break. I don't want to argue anymore.
I actually don't disagree with a significant amount of what you said. And now that the CEO is back from holidays, we look forward to seeing that legal advice.
Through the CEO, Mr. Mayor, I just heard one of the directors say that this is beyond the normal consultation that they carry with any other sale. Is that correct? Am I right in saying that? Is that what you...
No, what to clarify this, what through the CEO, my apologies, we put consultation via the website, so we capture the whole LGA. Direct mail out is not a common practice through this consultation phase.
So, Mr. Mayor, shouldn't the question be what is the consultation that council's doing before we think of rescinding?
Well, I think the Deputy Mayor, sorry.
Was that question asked or was it not asked?
Well, if we've now, just so to clarification, we've got a procedural issue regarding council roads, and Councillor Hadid has brought up the same procedural issue. The CEO advises legal advice of that. We now have under section 10.9 an appropriate motion with the funding source. Councillor Green, did you want to speak any more formally for your motion? Because now we will discuss and debate the actual rescission motion.
No, I don't think I will. I think I've spoken very clearly to the motion and the reasons for why the rescission motion was put forward.
Yep, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to speak against the rescission motion, if I may. Thank you. So this proposal has been an active consultative proposal for the embellishment and upgrade of Hammondville Park for more than a decade. I have before me a chronology of events that have led to where we are today, and it starts back in 2014. I have lived in that area, in fact, since 2014, and I have been involved in many, many steps of this community consultation and proposal. I note through this chronology of events, which I'm happy to table, that there has been LGA-wide consultation occurring through social media, through websites, through the internet. This is what we do commonly. This is what we always do. This is how we capture everybody in the LGA. To my mind comes other sales of property in this term of council that has not gone through an entire LGA mail out. So this is something that I've not come across before. Regardless, we have been talking about this for 10 years or more. It has been a long journey with the community, and contrary to what's been said today in this space, I have had overwhelming positive feedback for this to continue to deliver the facility that the people of East Liverpool have been promised for the last 10 years. They have been brought on this journey. They are tired of the delays. We are continuing the consultation, which is in the original motion. And so let's stop the delays and let's start to do what we promised we would do.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Rhodes?
Yeah, I've just a question.
Yep.
I believe that the council reassured there would be consultation with the community before any sale of any council asset. Is that correct?
It's yes, and I'll refer to the CEO.
Yes, councillor, but again, can I remind councillors that the original motion clearly states, due to an amendment that was made, that I cannot execute the contract until I bring it back to council for your authority to execute. So the actual execution and exchange of contracts for sale cannot take place until I come back to you and you authorise me to sign that contract. So not only would there be consultation, but it actually comes back to council one more time.
Just one further question just to reconfirm in my mind. So they're going to be consulted before any sale comes back. All of those objections that we received as councillors, that everybody received, they're going to be taken into consideration. Okay, thank you.
Councillors, you will be advised of when I come before you seeking your consent, authority, delegation to sign the contract and proceed to exchange. You'll be advised of what all the consultation that took place and the submissions that were received and how many submissions were received in favour, how many submissions were received against. So that will all be put before you.
And that's common practice, Mr. CEO? Is that something that we're doing only for this project, or is that common practice that we do for any project that we, or land that we decide to sell?
Yes, so it's not a matter of common practice, it's what you directed me to do in the motion that was passed. So I'm following the wording of the motion. So whether that's been previous practice or whether it'll be continuing practice in future, again, that'll be a matter for council if matters of this nature is brought before you.
I totally understand. The only reason why I'm asking this is because I've been on council for 2 years and 2 months now, and this is the first time that we've seen such activity around a sale of a property. There's many properties that have gone before us and they've gone with a normal standard consulting where we just go ahead and do our business as per normal. Why are we going through so much on this particular one?
Because council directed me to do it this way. So you can't, with all due respect, ask me why I'm doing it when I'm simply following what you directed me to do. That's what you'd put to me.
So I guess the point that you raised, Councilman, I guess what he's getting at, and I guess procedurally, we just had a matter before us where the speaker mentioned about notification. And we have a policy that outlines the process regard to notification for subdivision of land. I think what Councillor Moon, correct me if I'm wrong, is referring to is that what is our policy regarding notification with regards to sale of community land? What has Council's previous processes been? And if so, why is this different? So I guess that's probably not a question for the CEO, because it's clear if you wanted to dispose of any public assets, there is a process under the Act and the regulations. That's crystal clear. So I guess the question is to councillors, and I'll direct directly at the signers of the rescission motion, is that are you not happy with the process that council undertakes to sell land, and would you like to change that? So, i.e., for example, would you like to, because we need to be consistent in our decision making, because I guess once again, Councillor Moon's point, why is this block of land different than, say, Box Road number 22 Box Road? Because I think 22 Box Road came to council only a few months ago, wasn't that long ago. So would you like the same process that we're proposing for this to happen with that block of land? Should we do a South Ward mail out to the people before we actually sell 22 Box Road? Right? Because if we're going to do that, then we should create a policy that talks probably, the sale of the council assets policy, which would outline a consistent process to provide clarity to the CEO and his staff to abide by when going through this process.
And then that'll add to funding as well.
Is that what you're referring to, Councillor Moon?
And then you've got funding as well there.
I know, Councillor Harrell, Councillor Calienda, is there any, do you have any views on the matter?
Yes. Pardon me, who's first?
Whoever, yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'm going. Look, a couple of points. A couple of points I'd like to say. I've been on council longer than Councillor Fiona McNaught, and I definitely have a point of view that says, no, in this particular instance, this is a significant amount of land that borders significant council recreational areas. That's different to number 22 Box Road, which was an isolated piece of land. It's a pocket park, whatever you want to call it. That's totally different to this instance. I do not remember that there has been any community consultation to do with this project, other than a few weeks ago or a few months ago, we had a Wattle Grove day out for the people there. Now, the majority of people who attended that were young people, people with children and so on. They did not know about this to the extent that elderly people, senior people, may oppose the sale of that land. I was there. There were a few people who walked around the council booth, and we had a board there where you could sticky notes on there, and there was nothing there to really say, are you concerned or do you want to put an input into the sporties land that we're talking about in front of the sporties? So I think that's not really the same. I think that land there is totally different to when we're talking about the little blocks of land. That land there, if that is sold to them, it means there's going to be limited access to that area. I do not see why that we're propping up a commercial development that is there to make money, not necessarily for community interests. Now, this project has come to council, the last I remember was 2018. Again, in 2019, there have been various proposals put forward, including a share of interest, commercial interest, and a shared interest. That was eventually knocked back. There was a significant amount of money in that. I believe it was around about $14 million. That never went ahead. So at this stage, even reading the motion here, to me it says, yep, go and sell the land and then have community consultation. That's the way the original motion reads. I don't think that's really fair on the people who are buying the land. In that, you may remember, and I know this was confidential, there were certain conditions put on this. They needed to have an answer in a short space of time, and if that answer wasn't forthcoming, well, that put the deal in jeopardy, from as far as I remember. So we're now looking at this, and obviously this is going to take some time before this is agreed upon. So what happens to the contract, the delay in there? Is the delay significant enough? Because when we were looking at this originally, the delay was one of the major concerns. So I think the community should be able to say whether or not the land should be sold. And, we argued about this at the council before. Case I made was that we shouldn't be selling any land. We should be, if that's what you wanted to do, you don't have a need for it at the moment, is to lease it. I said long-term lease, 100-year lease, and I believe the difference in leasing and purchasing is about 5%. And I think future generations probably should have a say in this matter when it comes up. But once you sell it, it's gone. You'll never get it back. It'll have a significant impact on the recreational areas in that area. And for that reason, I think you're making a big mistake selling it if you don't have plans for it at the moment. And, sorry, not out of time.
Peter, the rescission, Councillor, your rescission motion doesn't say not to sell it. It says defer the sale.
Exactly. Yes, it's to defer the sale.
So it's still selling.
No.
Councillor Hadid.
Look, Mr. Mayor, government sometimes has to make a decision. Let me remind you of a case happened years ago when the former Premier Barry Ainsworth and the Minister of Things Laurie Burrington came up with the idea of the Darling Harbour. At the time, if they listened to the residents and the people of New South Wales, you will not and ever have the Darling Harbour, who became an iconic place for New South Wales, who received millions of people every year to come and visit. This is one. Secondly, look, make the story short. We have invalid rescission of motion. I'm asking you to put it on, and that's it.
With respect, Mr. Mayor, we are not debating here the sale of any land. Now, have I got it wrong? And I will ask it again. Under the current standing motion, the community is going to be consulted about possible sale of land, and it must come back to council.
Correct.
Where councillors can argue about whether they want to support the sale of land or not.
Correct.
So it's all premature.
Correct.
We're talking about
we're
things
working on
that are not a part of this.
Yeah, and the assumption is that with the 10 years of working with a community club, and to your point, Councillor, I'll have to clarify, that this is being sold to a community club with 30,000 members. It's their community club. They don't distribute any dividends. They all have to be reinvested. It serves our community, and councillors are aware of the plans to expand that facility, which will deliver better community outcomes. They've been wanting to build function centres there. They've been wanting to do other sorts of things and provide more offerings, as other community clubs have done throughout there. So it's not a for-profit enterprise. Sorry, Councillor Calienda has her hand up.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, as alongside what Councillor Hull has said, the only thing I would add is this is significantly different because the sale of the land in question also has also may have impacts on other council assets and what council decides to do with that, which is why it's incredibly important for ratepayers and for community members to not only walk into this with their eyes wide open and with full transparency and disclosure of what's on the table. Because if you say to people, hey, you have the opportunity to have XYZ without also acknowledging what the trade-off of that is, then it's not a completely open and transparent question that's being put to residents. And so that is, I think, the heart of the matter here. Are we actually going to residents and saying, hey, you get this, but then this is the trade-off for it? Or are we just going to kind of give them half of the story? And from my perspective, it's always important for residents to have complete transparency from their elected officials about what the vision is and what is being proposed. And so that is why this extensive community consultation is necessary before a decision is made. Now, the result of this community consultation may be that residents come back and say, hey, yes, we want to do this. And that's why the point at play is to defer it, not to make a decision one way or another. So I would just leave it at that because I think that's important context to have.
Yep. All right.
And again, I'm confused. Again, we're arguing about a sale that has not been passed by this council. It cannot happen until this council resolves to do that.
All right, great. I think everyone gets it, and we can spend all day on the matter. So there's been a motion that the motion does get put. Would the mover of the motion like her right of reply?
No, I'm happy for you to put the motion.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll put the motion is the rescission motion. All those in favour of the rescission motion, please raise your hands. Against? I declare the motion lost.
Sorry, Mayor, will the votes be recorded? Can I request request that the votes be recorded?
Yep, happy for that. So, should we try the new voting system? Oh, great. All right, everyone. We're going to be opening up a ballot on our new digital screens. So what do we do if we put it online? They'll work it out. Smart people here will work that out. Okay, all those in favor of the rescission motion, please, all those in favor of the rescission motion, haven't got it up yet. Who can put the little voting thing on our... Here we go. So all those in favor of the rescission motion, vote yes. Those voting against the rescission motion, vote no. And they're not 26 votes, so don't worry. Oh, no, we're 7 out of 10. There you go, yep, good.
I think because Councillor Kanib and I are on Teams, we don't have access to that.
That's right.
Yep.
Now you've got to get
So, Councillor Kelly, you're voting for the rescission motion?
I am, yes.
And Councillor...
Against.
Councillor Carneeb?
Yes.
Yep, yes.
4 yes.
Should be 5 yes. No? 4 yes. 4 yes. Yep, sorry, 4 yes. Okay, I declare the rescission...
It should be 4 yes, not 3.
Yeah, the one's online. The one online.
Yeah, 2 online and 2
Two online.
It's not up here on the list, that's all. So it is 4.
Done.
There we go. That's one way to do it.
Done. That's what.
Great. And Councillor Hadid has asked that it be noted that his objection to the motion is because of the validity of it. We can have that recorded in the minutes, please. All right. No, we can't have that. Sorry, Councillor.
Leave it. That's huge, complicated.
So, councillors, based upon that, I'd like to move a quick mayoral minute, and which is that one council notes the chronology of events, which I have here, so they make part of the official minutes of the council meeting. And the point number 2 is that we go out there and, you know what, if the councils want to do a direct mail out to all the community and do the
So we do the direct mail out to a budget of $50,000 that we funded from general funds, which should also cover the digital signs, the social media campaign, and Liverpool Listens, based on the 4 points that were on Councillor Green's motion. So that consultation will take place in the fashion that you wanted to, albeit to a smaller area, because I don't think we need to be going to Greendale and so all of the South Ward, or Greendale is in the North Ward, but out to Austral. Right? So, did you want me to repeat that? So point number 1 as a mayoral minute is that we receive and note the chronology of events, and they form part of the minutes. None of there, something that I prepared, and I did some research on it. So it's what Councillor McNaught and I were staying up very late at night reading through copious amounts of many past minutes. Sorry, can you put that away? What's that?
That was part of the motion from 7th of December.
Can you put some? Councillor Hadi, can you turn off your microphone, please?
I'm pretty sure that the to put my teeth
It
back
didn't.
in.
Sorry, it didn't go to 2014. I think, from my recollection, the one on the agenda last time didn't go back as far. I think it was.
I think this is more prescriptive what we have here now, because this just says includes a report on the history of this matter. This is a bit more detailed around the consultation of the matter.
Yep. Yeah, it's what Councillor McNaught was reading. The Deputy Mayor was reading before. So we'll circulate it to everybody, but it outlines it. I'm happy to read it if you guys want to, and give everyone a few minutes to go through it. All right, it's 3 pages long.
So, Mr. Mayor, why don't we find out what consultation council is already doing before we tell them extra consultation?
No, I'm happy if the council's the intent of the motion, what Councillor Green passionately advocated for. I agree with I agree with you. If you want to talk to the community, happy to talk to the community as much as possible. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that we're not talking to the community. You know, where we just, we're being transparent. So I think putting a budget of a bit more affordable, being really, going to 80. I think the first number was a bit much, but I think a sum of around $50,000 so if the motion point 2 could be allocate a sum of $50,000 from general funds to perform community consultation, to include direct mail, VMS signs, social media campaign, and Liverpool Listens. I think, was that the 4 points? Was there another point? Captures it. Cool.
Can I ask that you put a time frame on that, Mr. Mayor, that we do it soon?
So that then, considering where we are, and then the outcome be reported back to the March council meeting.
Thank you.
So which gives us a good, couple weeks to get ready, and a few weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks to do it all and come back.
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if we should include in that motion that the
Highlight that the point has to come back to council for finalisation?
That the communication must communicate to the community about the possible sale of council assets.
No, it's all about that, and it's all about the whole. It's there. Yeah, we're not.
But you will not put that in this motion.
Yeah, and if the point 3 then could be, and that the final decision on the sale of land
must be passed by council.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it is in the original motion.
Sorry,
but
point 3 highlights that the original motion is that the final decision rests with council for the sale, for the execution of the sale.
before the sale, rest with council before the sale of the land is executed.
Yeah. Yes.
So the final decision rests with council for the execution. No, the final decision rests with council.
It should be highlights the final decision rests with council for the execution of the sale of the land. Right.
Before the execution. Rest with council.
Can I fix it? Please, can I fix it? Because you're really overcomplicating it. Mr. Mayor, if I please fix it.
What's the issue?
Okay, if you really want to do this, highlights the final decision rests with council for authorising the CEO to execute the contract for sale of land execute the contract prior to exchange of contracts. That's what you're doing. That's already in there. You're just double repeating anyway.
Yep.
The motion.
Great. Councillor Goodman, yes. Can you put your microphone on, please, Councillor?
Point 3 of the original motion states that council staff has to get back to council on the 28th of February 2024. I think with the additional points, it's impossible.
Yeah, I think that's what point. You very, very valid point. So I think the point 2 now covers that.
So if you add, Mr. Mayor, back to the March council meeting in lieu of the February meeting.
Yeah.
In lieu of the February meeting.
Yeah. So yeah, in lieu of the February meeting.
That'll fix it. Thank you.
All right. If there's no further any discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Caliendo, are you voting for or against?
She's not voting.
She's still there. Just need to know for quorum whether she's still in the room.
You still got quorum.
Yeah, but I just need to declare them. I don't. Councillor Caliendo, can you confirm that you're in the meeting? Hello?
Sorry. Yes, sorry. I've just come back from the bathroom. There's no chat function.
No worries. Are you in favour of the motion?
She has to be on screen.
No.
So you're voting against. And sorry, you have to. The CEO advised you have to keep your camera on, please.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm in favour of this motion.
Yep. So you're sorry, in favour or against?
So can you move?
Hold on, one sec. Okay, please, everyone, I need to hear.
So can you please move the this screen so I can
you move
actually read?
the box so she can read it, please? Thank you.
Yes, in favour.
In favour? Great. I declare the motion unanimous. Thank you, everyone. I'll now call for a recess and we'll get back at 4:25. Thank you, everyone.
Now to Plan 01, page 51, tab 2, with a recommendation on page 51.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask, do we have a quorum?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, we do. 8. We do.
Is in.
Thank you.
Happy to move that way, Mr.
Moved by Councillor Rhodes, seconded by Councillor Hull. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Against, I declare it carried. And that was unanimous because it's a planning matter. I think we need that recorded, and we'll have to record that Councillor Caliendo is not in the room.
Yes.
So do we need the thing up?
It's unanimous, so that should be okay.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll move on to Plan 02, which is on page 55, tab number 3, with a recommendation on page 56. Do I have a mover?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Moved
Deputy
Councillor
Mayor.
Rhodes, seconded Councillor Hull. All those in favour? Against? I declare that unanimous. Plan 03 on page 86, tab 4.
That's been deferred.
Do I have a motion to defer that?
Yes, move that to be deferred.
Seconded by Councillor Goodman. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you. Wow.
Please stay in the chair.
Setting a new record here. Even I can't keep up. Okay, we move on to Community and Lifestyle Reports, Com 01, page 89, tab number 5. Governance Advisory Committee's amendment of charter with a recommendation on page 90. Do I have a mover to move the recommendation? Moved Councillor Green, seconded Councillor Amoon. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Com 02, appointment of councillors to committees and affiliated bodies, page 105, tab number 6, with a recommendation on page 106. Happy to move, Councillor Hadid. Happy to second, Councillor Hull. No commentary. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Thank you. Com 03, page 119, tab 7, with a recommendation on page 120. I'd like to just add a couple of words to the recommendation, which I sent through earlier. If that's okay. I'm happy to try to remember those words. Thank you. So I think that those words are contained in the body of the report, but they just weren't reflected in the motion. So I just wanted to add those into the bottom of the motion there. If anybody
Happy to move the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hull. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Back to the committees. We have Councillor Caliander as being on the South West Sydney Academy of Sport. I believe that she resigned from that position. So if we could just have that amended.
From the notes that she's resigned from that committee?
Yep.
Okay. We'll reflect that in the notes. Does anybody else do we need to fill that?
I filled that position. That's how come I know that she's not attending.
Thank you.
Chair, could I just raise with you, with report number 1, it says amend the Governance Committee Charter to allow 7 committee members. So you would need to vote and elect those 7 members. Page 89.
Page 89. I might just defer that for the foreseeable future, and we'll come back to that item at the end of the meeting. Sorry, Councillor Hull.
Well, we've got to choose the 7 members.
Can I ask for who would like to be on that committee?
Could be on that committee when it was first brought up.
Could it?
Mayor would be on the committee.
Yep, 2.
I'd like to be on the committee.
3.
Could I make it?
Sorry, everyone, just to be clear, we're going back to Com 01 on page 89 to elect the 7 members of that committee, and the Mayor has walked back in.
So we've got the Mayor Manoon, Councillor Rhodes, and we've got Deputy Mayor McNaught. We've also got...
This is the...
Yes, so we've got Councillor Green.
We're just changing so that we don't have such a high level for quorum.
Yeah, anyone can attend, but these are the 7 members. So we need 3 more.
Councillor Howard has the call.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Rather than limit it to a number of councillors, why not have all councillors?
Because we did that initially. Sorry, Councillor. We did that initially, and the problem is that if it's all of you, then quorum is based on the number, and we never had quorum. By limiting it to 7, and anyone else can be invited, the quorum is based on the 7.
Has it got to be that? Do you have to have a quorum?
Yes.
You do, yes.
Like any. So, Councillor Hull, you put your hand up to be on it as well? Done. So that's 5. We need 2 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more. Sorry? Councillor Amoon as well had his hand up. I need 1 more.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Goodman.
Councillor Goodman has his hand up. That's our 7. Does anyone else want it, in which case we have to have an election, or we can just leave it at the 7? Done. Yes, she is as well.
Yeah, she's there. She's never missed a meeting.
Yes. No, she's got a position. Thank you, Councillor. So we have our 7. So can you put the motion?
Thank you. So I will re-put the motion, which is on page 90. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
None.
Against? Declare it carried. Thank you.
Now we're back to Com.
We're up to Com 04.
Mayor's back in the room.
Mr Mayor?
You can't.
I don't
Mr.
think
Mayor,
procedurally
when
I
you're
can.
in the room, you have to take the chair.
No, sorry, no. I'm getting the full user experience here from outside and inside. Please.
But all right, let's go. Keep going.
So, Councillor Rhodes, we just did Com 03.
Yes. So we're on COM 04.
So on to COM 04, thank you. Recommendation moved by councillor Hadid, seconded by councillor Amoon. All those in favour? Against, I declare it carried. COM 05, the final plan of management for Phillips Park, Lanier, on page 129, tab 9, with a recommendation on page 129. Moved by councillor Goodman, seconded by councillor Hadid. All those in favour?
Hang on.
Hang on. Yes, councillor Hull.
An amendment.
What's your amendment?
Turn your mic on.
C, 1 and 2 as is, and 3, council to ensure historical plaques relating to Phillips Park history are incorporated within the community centre. The relevant information to be assessed by Council's Heritage Officer and based on relevant historical advisory committee meetings. We debated this in the advisory committee several times, and I believe we don't have those plaques in there, and I'd like to ensure that they are. I didn't see them, I could be wrong. We weren't notified.
I'm happy with that.
Are you happy to incorporate that into the motion, the mover and seconder? Yes. Fantastic. We'll just add that as a point 3.
Give the word.
We'll just wait for those words to be added to the motion and then we'll vote.
Councillor Hull, the good news is the way you've worded it, if the plaque's already there, we've insured it. If the plaques are not there, then we arrange it. So it works well.
So I'd like to put the motion as it reads with 3 points. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Thank you. Corp 01. No, he doesn't want to come back. The investment report.
Happy to move that way.
Moved by councillor Rhodes, seconded by councillor Green. All those in favour? Against? Do you have a question? You do have a question, councillor Hull?
Yes, I was going to simply ask, will councils, this is probably for Vishnu, will councils better than expected investment portfolio of $3.8 million, higher than originally budgeted, reduce the overall expected budget deficit, and what is the current projected deficit?
Through the CEO.
I might, yes, thank you, Councillor. I'll direct that to the Director of Finance and Corporate Support.
Through you, CEO, the report will come officially to the next council meeting for the December quarter review. The first quarter review was in the order of 8.2 million, and it's around that figure, 8.2, 8.3 for the December quarter review at this stage. Does that answer your question?
There are some book adjustments.
Thank you. So I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to operations reports. Operations 01, new fees and charges, shredding operations, page 146, tab 11, with a recommendation on page 146.
Question.
A mover. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Goodman. And question, Councillor Hull.
Yes, the new fees and charges for the shredding operations, what I think we need to be clear of here is the proposed fees will not be paid by Liverpool ratepayers. The way I read that is that the only ones that are paying the $30 and $40 per mattress are external to our LGA. In other words, the people who are supplying us the mattress. It doesn't really reflect it that way in the report, and it might need rewriting. If you have a look at it, I got confused and I thought, hang on, are we now charging our residents either $30 or $40 for each mattress processed? And my understanding was that's not the case. It's only for external.
the director in a moment, but if you look at the description, in particular number 2, fee is structured as per mattress rate collected from a metropolitan Sydney council and subsequently processed at the designated. If you look at number 1, this fee established per mattress applicable to each mattress delivered and processed at the Liverpool City Council, we could easily add from a metropolitan Sydney council to that. Director of Operations, would that be correct?
Yes, there's no intention at all to charge our ratepayers anything. These are commercial deals for council-to-council operations and commercial operators to council operations.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that clarifies if we just added a word to the table there. Councillor Hull?
Yep. Me.
Did you have something else?
Yes, I actually had 3 questions. So that clarifies that Liverpool ratepayers, which we knew was the case. Are there any operational environmental issues that may prevent current shredding operations?
The CEO?
Not that I'm aware of, but the Director for Operations.
Some. They to do with noise. So we've done some noise testing. The noise testing have to be under 80 dBA. We've got some gating to go on and some retesting. The noise only affects hours of operation and it only affects the DA at Rose Street. Ultimately, this operation will work from Cow Pasture Road. The noise won't affect any residents there. And we expect our 2 shredders to be working 8 hours a day each at 16 hours a day.
The other question I have, I was at the when you had the display, you know, when you showed when we had the operational day display. One of my concerns was when looking at that, you were spraying water into the intake of where the mattresses are fed into it. Do we have an issue with dust problems? No.
Through the CEO, we've done dust testing. That we've passed the EPA standard on that. Passed workplace standard, and the USU have no concerns about dust.
Yeah, I was observing the machine, and I noticed people were spraying water in there at the time, and I thought maybe the machinery should have incorporated a spraying thing, which is usual practice in waste disposal places. You know, you have misting devices, and they may not have been incorporated in the machine. That was my only concern. The other thing is, at the moment, there is 3 to 4 weeks waiting on, I believe, in collecting mattresses. Is there some reason for that, 3 to 4 weeks or longer?
I have no idea, through the CEO, I have no idea about that. So I'll take that on notice and I'll have a look at any potential delays on picking up local mattresses, Councillor.
Who had booked in, and their date was in March, the 15th or 16th of March.
Yep,
So that was a question that had come to me as well, that was the pick-up date that the resident was given. So I thought, well, either we're really chewing through the mattresses and there's a bit of a wait, or do our staff collect the mattresses, or is it a contractor?
Through the CEO, it's a contractor, and that timing surprises me, so I'll have a look at it.
Okay.
Councillor, if you get specific requests from specific residents and their address, it would really help if that could be sent to the director so we can work out exactly which one.
Okay, thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Thank you. The next item of business is committee reports.
Move them as a whole unless if any councillor have any questions.
Move them as a whole. Councillor Hadid, seconded by Councillor Rhodes. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Hull?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Committee O2, I have questions on that.
Allowed O2, okay. So we will move committee meetings, committee reports 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 as a whole. Yep. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Green, seconder, Councillor Amoon. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. So we'll move now the minutes of the Environmental Advisory Committee meeting held on the 9th of October, page 161, tab 13, with a recommendation on 161. Councillor Hull?
Yes, look, I had a question on that. Looking at the results of that, the recycling bin at the moment has contamination of about 38%. That's quite high compared to what we normally have. Is there anything we're doing to reduce that? And what did I have? What action is council taking to reduce those levels? Has council considered fines for contaminating recycling bins since ownership can be easily identified?
Through the CEO.
I'll ask the appropriate director to respond or take it on notice. Director of Operations.
Through the CEO, we'll take it on notice. Firstly, I don't understand the threshold variance cited by the councillor, whether that's a reasonable number. And secondly, enforcement. I just need to check on a couple of things, but I'll take it on that.
All right. Council will come back to you with that.
So can I have someone to move those minutes, please? Councillor Green, someone to second. Councillor Rhodes, all those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. We'll move with questions with notice. We've dealt with question with notice 01 already. So we move to question with notice 02 from, would you like to take the chair back? Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
No coups, please.
No way.
I think I wanted you back.
Sorry.
It was evident.
You want to be out by 5, you've got 15 minutes. So check. Oh, by the way, we have to...
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just want to move a motion from my motion, please.
I have some questions, but perhaps we'll wait for that first.
So that council remove any form of discriminatory actions or language from any position vacancy. Form of language. Let's make the council remove any form of discriminatory actions or language from any position vacancy. This includes encouraging certain groups of people applying for positions whilst excluding others and people's vaccination status. Is there a seconder for that? Seconded, Councillor Goodman. In speaking for the motion, before I move to the Deputy Mayor, who has some comments to make, we've obviously gone through the pandemic. It's quite evident that the actions that were taken during the pandemic that were successful are no longer needed. So, for example, there is no longer any social distancing. There's not a sanitizer every 10 steps that when you go about there. People aren't wearing face masks, and we're no longer required to get vaccinations. The effectiveness of vaccinations for those who are double vaxxed, is almost non-existent these days. And I think that the requirement to be vaccinated is no longer required, and in itself is discriminatory. And that's what that's about. Also, the other part about when we read a job ad, there are people who are saying, well, why are you only encouraging certain people to apply versus everyone else? And I think it's a typical thing of saying that, everyone should be encouraged to apply. We're all equal, we're all Australians, and we welcome everybody here rather than just particular groups. By focusing on particular groups of people, that means we're excluding other groups of people, and then that exclusion is creating division, and we shouldn't be embarking on that. Hence the reason of the motion, because I think we need to ensure that council in its decision making is fair and equitable and treats everybody equally. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have some questions about the COVID-19 vaccination policy. If I could ask through you, what is council's definition of a vaccinated person? What constitutes an appropriate vaccination status?
Refer to the CEO.
My understanding at this stage is the first and second, full stop. There has not been any mandatory third, fourth or fifth. I think we're up to sixth now that's been made available. But my understanding with a lot of the government departments and the Department of Health, it's the first and second that is still applied.
It's just a little bit, I'm a little bit confused about why we would use a definition like that and what we've benchmarked against when New South Wales health data will suggest that full vaccination is defined by a person having had as many vaccinations as is appropriate for somebody of their age and health status. Now, I don't know what authority council has to inquire as to somebody's health status and how many vaccinations they should have been recommended to have. And if somebody has been recommended to have multiple boosters and hasn't had it, we don't know that, and they are not fully vaccinated according to that definition. So I just feel like we've got a policy in place that is not workable and is more a bit more like a paper policy, and I'm sorry to use a term like that. And I just want to understand, if we're going to have a policy that is accurate and workable, I don't think that is what has been reported to us today. And I understand a common thought is a double vaccination of the initial vaccine. That has been thought now to have long worn off its effectiveness. And I just am bamboozled as to why we continue to use this.
I've made inquiries with health, and health still indicates that it's the double, it's the two. That's the minimum required, if I can use that expression. And I'm informed that it's the same number that is used with medical staff within the hospital, the clinicians, etc., nurses within the hospital system. It's the two. So it seems to, for whatever reason, be the accepted.
And I guess, not to be argumentative, but I guess that my point is that, health may be using that as their threshold, but if you take the information from New South Wales Health itself as a governance body, the amount of recommended boosters per person varies based on a lot of background information, and that's what would constitute you to be up to date with your vaccinations.
Councillor Rhodes.
I take the councillor's point and clarification. Why do we have a policy insisting on 2 vaccination shots?
Sorry, Councillor Rhodes, can I just interrupt you for a moment? Technical issue. I was pressing a button that said, do a vote. That was me. I didn't expect it to crash. I'm sorry.
He should never have been put back in the chair.
This is all part of the testing of the system.
Testing.
Mr. Mayor.
While you're
We're
working
looking
it out.
at every contingency. We'll occasionally ambush councillors to see if they touch the buttons.
Yeah. Oh. So if I call for a vote, will that happen again, or? Okay. Don't call for a vote. Then I'll leave it to you guys. Sorry, Councillor Rhodes. Or? Yeah, sorry, Councillor Rhodes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My point being, in taking up Councillor, the Deputy Mayor's point that she raised, is that if they feel that the second vaccination is not enough and you've got to continually keeping your boosters, that means that the second vaccination is not doing anything, and yet that's what we're relying upon for this. It just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
And I think just for the point too, I should say, requirement for COVID vaccination status for employment.
For new employment.
For new employment.
For new employment.
Right. Is there any discussion, Councillor Green?
I just had a question, maybe around with childcare, given the contact with children, if COVID vaccination is a requirement for those positions, given that often it's, I know this wave in particular, it's children that are driving it.
Moment. My understanding is that the childcare workers are in the same situation as all other employees of council. I don't think they're in a separate designated position, but Mrs. Bono.
Thank you. Through the CEO, that's correct. We're in the same bucket. Industry-wide, though, there's no requirement to have the vaccination any longer.
All right, well, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare it unanimous. Next item is Councillor Green, question notice 3, page 215.
I thank staff for the response, but I just have some concerns. I feel that we are indeed very fortunate, if not privileged, as a community to know that only 8 kilometres from the Liverpool CBD that we have a healthy koala colony, and that I'm told is chlamydia free. And that's something that is really, really special about that colony on Sirius Road at Voyager Point. I am aware, as I'm sure my colleagues and council is, that the residents of Voyager Point are also strong protectors and advocates of the koalas and their habitat in that area. Residents of Sirius Road tell me that they find it quite delightful to see koalas actually travelling through the residential streets down there. While I see that, I note the report provides that council has not developed a koala management plan due to the limited potential to further develop the portion of the LGA that the koalas occupy. However, this statement does not allay the anxiety or concerns of residents that future development affecting their habitat will continue to be not permitted. In fact, Section 10 of the State Environmental Planning Policy, Koala Habitat Protection 2019, states a council is not prevented from granting consent to development applications for consent to carry out development on land if the land is not identified on the koala development application map or does not have an approved koala plan of management applying to the land. So accordingly, as I've stated in my question with notice, the policy applies to each LGA that is listed in Schedule 1, of which Liverpool is listed as an LGA where the policy applies. And secondly, Part 3 of the policy states that a plan of management may be prepared for the whole or part of a local government area where a colony exists. So I consider that a koala management plan contributes significantly to the care, protection and preservation of koalas and their habitat, not only for us now, but also for future generations. So surely it is our duty to ensure that koala colonies and the habitat that sustains them are properly protected and preserved in our LGA. I would like to move a motion from this question that council prepare a koala plan of management in the identified area of Sirius Road, Voyager Point, consistent with the requirements of the State Environmental Planning Policy, Koala Habitat Protection 2019.
Are you seconding that, Councillor Rowe?
Look, I would like to add a discussion point first that Councillor Green might take into consideration. I appreciate her concern about koalas. This has been a long passion of mine.
Sorry,
And,
I needed a kind of yes or no if you're seconding that.
I'll second it with an amendment.
Okay. What's your amendment, Councillor?
Well, my amendment is we can do so much more in this area, Councillor Green, and it has come to our attention. We've got real problems. The area that you're talking about, it's difficult to do it without saying what I want to talk about, but the amendment would be that Council provide a report back to the March Council meeting on the feasibility of koala feeder trees being planted in all available appropriate park land throughout the Liverpool LGA, investigate what partnerships might be developed with various stakeholders in desperate need of koala food, or perhaps in partnership with large landholders, the Department of Defence, that might be able to provide land where such trees could be planted for this purpose, and investigate possible state and federal grants for collaboration. So if we're able to add that into your call for a koala management plan, I'm happy to support it. And now I would give the reasons as to why I would have that amendment. I've seconded with this amendment. Yes.
Councillors, can I recommend, not too dissimilar how we started today's meeting, that these are now very significant and technical issues with different layers of legislation that are very important. And I think that if we can maybe discuss as the governance meeting, put it, because I don't know enough about koalas and the different acts of legislation to be able to deal with this, and I'm sure our planning staff will have some comments about this. Could we do something on the lines that says get a briefing at the next have a discussion, whatever, at the next governance meeting that looks at these items in line of council creating a policy of this sort?
Yes, I know a great deal about this, Mr. Mayor, because I have been engaged in this for the last 7 years.
Yep. So the seconder's happy. Is the mover happy?
Would you like to hear what I...
Would you like to turn it off?
Pardon?
I think the first step is actually implementing, or at least if you wanted to discuss it at the governance committee meeting, of council undertaking a koala management plan. I would be assuming. I know that we should not assume, but much of what Councillor Rhodes has added would be part of that koala management plan. I would like at least the discussion to be focused on the koala management plan.
So, council prepare a koala management plan? A draft management plan? That includes numerous items as outlined by Councillor Rhodes and yourself, but not exclusive to.
Yep.
And the draft plan be brought back to the governance committee.
Yep.
For further discussion.
Yep, I would be happy with that, Mr. Mayor.
Is the seconder happy with that?
Yes, I'll add these points on.
Great. All right. So we can give you the staff the points to put up there, but I guess we get the gist of it, right? Can I recommend maybe another point that says highlighting, as you started your statements, that the unique koala colony that Liverpool LGA does actually have? Yeah, I'm saying that another point that we highlight the unique koala colony. That's.
Yes,
I don't
think
know
that
what
would be important.
What was it?
Chlamydia-free.
Chlamydia-free.
Yes. With CH.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Yes, yep.
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 All right. I think everyone gets a gist of it. Mover, seconder, happy. All those in favour?
Do we wait until we see the other items come up in the motion?
I think everyone here has confidence in our two koala experts. I'm sure my councillors do. We have faith in you, in your words, and we look forward to seeing the policy in further discussion. No. Yeah.
and councillors, I will ask my staff to speak to both of you when the draft plan of management is being prepared for your feedback prior to the governance meeting, so we get it all in.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against, I declare it. Was that unanimous? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll say it's unanimous. Okay.
03. 04.
04, Councillor Green, shared pedestrian cycle pathway.
Yes, thank you for the information. Look, I know there's probably, there's quite some comments that are made about women and map reading, but I couldn't really locate Voyager Point on the map that was provided. No, I couldn't, because so I wasn't clear on where, and because that was one of the central questions that the residents wanted to know was where did the shared pathway begin and where did it end? I know that, but
blue is existing.
Is that
the blue is existing?
Yes.
Pathway. Blue is existing.
Yeah, I got that.
And the green is the proposed new shared path.
Is that Voyager Point there?
Oh, okay. And in purple, I call it purple, lilac, whatever, proposed new shared path 4.4 kilometres. The Director of Operations will point it all out to you. With the
there.
nice
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it was really important because, you know, in representing residents, it's really important that, you know, it's done properly.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main questions that they were asking.
Yep.
And of course, part of that was that they didn't really want to do this other part. So I understand the concept plan will be provided.
We're going back on the consultation now, aren't we? Again, and I think it was done over 5th of December, or we extend, or 5th of January. Yeah. So
it was a great way to spend before Christmas, let me tell you.
yeah, I can assure you, both of us being tagged, but and I think
notwithstanding that, given you know, but part of their concern was because it doesn't attract a lot of traffic down there. I think the afternoon that we were there was only one car that came down that street. What they're worried about is the koalas that traverse through the area and what risk that might pose to them as well. So, yeah, happy to look at the concept plan, but as I say, I wasn't quite sure whether it was. So thank you, Mr. Breton.
all right. So you're not moving your motion from this? No. Receive a note.
I'm happy to travel along with the concept plan that will be presented. And I do note that at the last traffic committee, we did have 3 shared pathways that came to the traffic committee. So I'm confident that that will come to the traffic committee as well, and take into account the consultation that will occur with the residents in that particular area.
Great. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Can I just ask another question based on what we've just spoken about? Being that shared pathway is located in close proximity to those residents, but available to the entire LGA, I just want to make sure that our consultation is as would normally be on social media and things like that are LGA wide, so that those comments can be taken in, not just from residents. I'm getting lots of nods. Thank you.
Right. Wonderful. Yep. Councillor Calianda, we've got now QWN 05 about the Business Advisory Council, page 223.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Back to Councillor Green's. I had some questions.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. The pathway. Yep.
That's okay. On this particular issue, the question is: has council evaluated the proposed pedestrian access pathway cycleway to the Casula railway station. That has been a bone of contention at our traffic committee probably for more than 18 months. And we've asked that what are we doing, because that pathway that leads to the railway station is dangerous. It's a health hazard. It's got the pathways are broken up, and people who walk from the Casula area to the railway station have to change shoes because it's so bad. So I did ask about this several times at the traffic committee meeting. What I'm suggesting is that before we build the cycleway where residents have said we don't really want it, that we spend that money where it's needed. I'm happy to put up a motion on that basis.
I think if you could provide a map of where you're talking about, Councillor Harold, that would help.
Sorry?
If you could provide a map of where you're talking about in Casula.
Yes.
Casula's a pretty big suburb. Where are you referring to?
Sorry. It's from the Casula, the current access to Casula railway station. There's pathways there that lead up to Carroll Park.
Between Casula Road and the railway.
Yes. It's really bad. It needs...
Yep.
You've got issues such as there's trees across the road. There's no lighting there, so after 7 o'clock when it's dark, it's quite dangerous.
If you want to work with staff in preparation of what does that need,
yes,
as we prepare next year's capital works program,
yep,
that could be funded. Bearing in mind that I imagine some of this funding will be from contributions, which will go somewhere else. But
Director of Planning and Compliance is happy to talk to the councillor about it.
yeah, but I think it's more of a maintenance and construction.
I had a motion to that effect. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Yep. Sorry, can you put your microphone on, please, Councillor? Councillor Moon, can you put your microphone on, please?
Sorry, there's actually two walkways to the railway line through there. There's one that you actually follow through Casula Road, and there's one direct from Casula Road, from behind the properties, straight down. So if they use the other one, it is doable, but if they use the Casula one, it's difficult.
Sorry, it's the second one that you're referring to.
So-
I have about probably 200 people in that area who've approached me over time and asked that they've signed petitions they wanted to get done. Now, I think I spoke to Director Breton about this some time ago, and the problem is that this is partially the railway is responsible for it, and so is council. And when we had the COVID-19 issues, the railway decided to shut down the access, and that caused problems. They haven't opened it up, and there are issues there. And I think we really need to look at it.
Just mindful of time, if you can, and I think as we go through our budget meetings, if you can prepare how much that needs, and then allow council, ultimately the decision to any capital works is up to us, not the staff.
Did you want me to put up a motion?
No, I think if you can just work on it, maybe for the next meeting if you like, but I think just work out what does it need to get done. It doesn't require a motion. Great. We'll now move to QWN 05, page 223. Councillor Calienda. Or camera's not on, sorry, she's not there. And the same with QWN 06. She's not here. All right, great. We'll now move into notice of motion. Nom 1, Councillor Moon. Moving the motion?
Yes, I'd like to move the motion as per the book.
Yep. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor? All right. No. Yep, Councillor Moon, do you want to speak for your motion?
Yes, an innocent life was lost on that particular day or evening, and the family of that particular person approached me, and they're pretty distraught, and they wanted to see a way where they can have their child's life be remembered and continued on, because he lost his life at such a young time. And obviously we were all parents, and we all understand on losing a son or a daughter how difficult it is, and it is emotional, so I'm sorry. I'll just move it as per the book. Thank you.
Councillor Rhodes, your questions?
Yes, the question is, does council currently have a policy on memorials and plaques on public lands?
Council, I have to take that on notice. I do not know the answer to that question.
The issue that I'm raising it is, as much as we really do appreciate the sincerity of your motion, and the unfortunate circumstances, I think we really need a policy before we implement this, because there could be more people with similar situations, and we need a policy so that council is always seen to be making a decision. Well, I can assure you we don't have a policy. I was just asking to be polite. There is no policy at this stage. Well, it's not on the council website. So we will presume that there is not a policy. Well, my objection to this motion going ahead now, could we refer it to a governance committee so that we can just double check that before we vote on this motion? It would be safest.
In terms of going to a governance committee, I can't see the logic behind it. As much as you want to know if there's a policy or not, whether there's a policy or there isn't a policy, there's a life that's been lost and a family that's requested for their child's name to be put in a specific place, and that's all they're asking for. They're not asking for a policy. They're not asking for what council's doing. They were actually prepared to pay for it themselves if they wanted to. And I said, no, look, we'll talk to council, and hopefully council is willing to do something for the community because you guys are a part of it. So going out there and remembering a child that lost his life at such a young age doesn't need a policy.
I do recall at one of the 2168 forums of last year that somebody asked for a memorial for somebody who had died, but some years ago, and the response that came back from council was no, that's not something council does. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think on that note, Councillor Green, it's that a council staff member making a decision versus the role of the elected council's representatives. You know, that's different. You know, like no different like Councillor Miller. I think if you wanted to bring it forward and you get that support, we effectively had that a month or two ago with the late Alison McGarity when her husband spoke. So I think this is where it's one of the roles us as a council to do. If you want a policy guide, that's another story. And that can be prepared. The CEO's advice. Councillor Harrell?
Yes, look, I agree this was a tragic incident, but I think you're opening up a can of worms here. I agree with what you're trying to do, but if you have a look in the area, not long ago, we had 2 young children were killed because of illegal activities in a car. They were killed, coming through That's just 2. There have been several others as well. Are we going to put those sorts of things for everyone? This is what this is what you have a cemetery for. Cemeteries is where you put memorials. You don't put them in streets. And look, we already have that. We've got people who put crosses and flowers on trees and telegraph posts where people have died. And that, after a natural grieving period, that tends to go away and those things disappear. I think it's a natural process. I think what you're trying to do, all well and good intentions, but I think you'll find it'll cause you more problems than you'll fix.
Well, look, this particular issue or this particular murder wasn't a specific one where a young life was taken, like the other ones went in an accident. It was a freak accident. This is an actual someone that was murdered. Someone's child was walking the streets of one of our local areas who was had an unprovoked attack and as a result lost his life. The families come to us as their elected members and asked if they can have a memorial for their child that lost their life unprovoked. So there was no accident. The guy didn't come and approach somebody to kill him. They didn't do anything. Someone attacked him and killed him for no reason on a specific. Like if you get another person or another issue that occurs or another death that occurs that way, I'm more than happy to go out again and advocate for it to get a memorial, because this is not something that occurs out of every single day. This is something that happens once every 50 years, perhaps. I don't know. I've lived in the area for 30 odd years, 36 years. I've never seen someone
walk in the street of Casula, Lania, Mila, or Liverpool itself, and get stabbed by another person unprovoked. So this is an unprovoked murder that made this to where we are today. So all I'm asking you as a person, as a father, okay, as an elected representative of this particular people, okay, which they came to me and asked me for this thing, okay, if you'd like to support it, please go ahead. If you don't want to support it, let me know. And I'll share your view with them and they can share that view with their community.
Mr Mayor,
Council.
I'd like to put a foreshadowed motion.
Yeah, what is your foreshadowed motion?
The foreshadowed motion would be that we take this to the Governance Committee to ensure that we have got an appropriate policy in place so that the decisions of council will always be consistent.
Yeah, do you have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Harrell. Okay, foreshadowed motion. Thank you. Great. I want to speak in favour of Councillor Moon's motion. Councillors, the event, the tragic event has been outlined. I think we can live in a world that is governed by documents and processes, or you should be able to go out there and talk to your local councillor and say, you know what, can you do something to help out? And you know what, and if they've done that in this situation, so it should be, because before you know it, we won't even be needed to put motions because everything will just go through a policy that outlines and there's no critical decision making. The community generally in this scenario, talking about putting a bench, they're always good things to have around the community regardless, and a small little plaque there, I don't believe is inappropriate. Hopefully we're not in situations where this has to happen, and I think that if anyone approaches any council, then bring it forward and let council make a decision. But I think it's a nice gesture, and the last thing that we should be doing is saying the community, our policy doesn't support that, or we're going to make a policy and come back months later and do this. It's just this is the community side of makes us who we are, that we can make decisions. So I fully support Councillor Moon's motion and thank him for bringing it forward.
Can I speak in favour of my motion, my motion?
No,
or
we're not dealing with a foreshadowed motion. It only comes up if the original motion is defeated.
Well, then I would like to speak against the motion.
No worries. Yeah, that's right. Yep, you want to speak? Yep, go,
yes,
Councillor, you can go speak.
Thank you very much. Now, let's be perfectly. Yes, I have to speak against the motion that is currently on the floor. Yep. The reason why I have to, and look, it's a terrible thing for any family, and I understand the reasons why you want to do this. And I'm not saying that council will rule that we don't. All I'm saying is that council needs a policy so that, and you say that you don't know of this happening. There was a gentleman that was killed outside the McDonald's, is it, or the Big Rooster down there on Hoxton Park Road. That was only 6 months ago.
What were the circumstances? What were the circumstances?
He was just killed by somebody stabbed him or something like that.
Tell us the details. I'm giving you details. I'm giving you facts of what happened.
Okay, well, this was just a person that was working, I believe, at the facility, and somebody came in and just stabbed him for no reason whatsoever. These things, unfortunately, do happen. So I disagree that this will not come up again. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. What I am saying, that as councillors, we have to have a responsible position that if we approve this, it's in accordance with a policy of council. That's why I would prefer to take it to a governance committee to just tick that
Sorry,
box,
Councillor, can you not interrupt her, please?
so that we could tick that box to make sure that this council is going to be consistent on these decisions should it come up again.
One sec, if you get your right to reply. For or against, Councillor Goodman? You want to speak for? Please, if you can put your microphone on.
When we moved the resolution to take a table at the Chamber of Commerce every single meeting in the name of the late Harry Hunt, was there a policy in place or was it a resolution that was done? Harry Hunt has served the community for years before his passing. This kid did not have an opportunity to serve the community for years.
Let's get a policy. Make sure that we have a policy.
All right. I've got a compromise here. Can I move that we create a policy for memorials? Right. That's point one. Point two, the policy states that any decision regarding a memorial be brought for council for discussion and resolution.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you can't put policy on the run. You have to give it time and think about it. You can't.
Councillor Hart likes that motion, right?
Mr. Mayor, only at the last council meeting we renamed the bridge or named the new bridge in honour of somebody. Okay. Now these people have contributed, as Councillor Goodman stated. Now, if we ask for a normal citizen, resident of this community who lost their life tragically out of an unprovoked, and underlined 1,000 times the word unprovoked murder, okay? And now here we are debating and people are saying they want a policy to put a memorial for a young child that's going to cost council $3,000 that the family is willing to pay for themselves. And we are still arguing about it.
I get your.
I'm really disappointed.
All right, and Council, I encourage your motivation, but Councillor Hadid, then I got a deputy mayor.
Look, I agree with Councillor Rood. We should have a policy, but I've heard what the CEO has to say. He said we may have a policy, we may not. So now if we have a policy, that's fine. It will cover this motion. If we haven't got one, so then, are you listening? if we don't have one, so then we will look at a new policy, okay, and probably we will adopt a new one. But this is a motion. There's nothing to do now with creating a new policy, or we have a policy or whatever. So it's a special circumstances. So I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, just to put the motion, okay? And let's vote on it. And we'll take into consideration creating a new policy in this regard.
We'll get it for a moment. I just want to refer to the deputy mayor first. So if you can turn off your microphone, please, Councillor Hadid.
Councillor Rhodes needs to turn. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to speak in favour of the original motion. We're having a debate about creating a policy that is supposed to cover the empathy, the sympathy, the feeling that we're supposed to have and define about an incident that happens, and creating a memorial for a family. And I just don't think that that is a workable policy. I don't know how many different ABCDs you're going to need to cover every situation. We are elected officials. We sit here, and thank the Lord we do not discuss this very often. But when we do, let's make a decision on it.
Well said, Deputy Mayor. Okay, we've had a motion.
Can I change my foreshadowed motion,
Yep,
please?
go for it. No, I'll let her do it. But we've had a motion that the motion be put, but I'm happy for you to make the amendments to your motion.
The motion reads that this opportunity to assist the delivery of a memorial for this unfortunate situation be brought to a governance committee.
We're not putting it, but she has a foreshadowed motion she wants. She has a foreshadowed motion. Please, Councillor, she's almost done. So what are you saying?
That this should be going to a governance committee, and that should be my motion, because we need to check it if we have got a policy.
Okay.
Can I ask the question whether we've got a policy?
We don't have a policy.
We don't have a policy.
Yep. So, as the seconder happy with Councillor Hall, are you happy with that amendment to the foreshadowed motion? Great. All right. Wonderful. All right. All good. I'll put the motion as moved by Councillor Amoon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare the motion carried. Division?
No? Okay, great. Division, sit back down. Please. Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
They do it for you.
Sure, can I try again?
No, please don't. Don't. Please don't. All right. Can you put the division yes or no vote in, please? Here it is. Done.
Can we get like a drum roller, like
No, here we go.
like waiting music?
Vote yes or no?
On the motion.
This is the motion.
Yes.
And how you voted.
Yes.
And how you voted.
What was that game show? Jeopardy.
Great. And Councillor Carney was for the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I thought there were 2 no's. Weren't there 2 no's?
Councillor Rhodes and Councillor Hull.
Yep, there's only 1 no showing.
I thought, sorry.
Done.
There we go. All right, wonderful. That being said, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 5:31. Oh yeah, there's a confidential booklet. Let's go.
Jason. We've just finished.
Confidential, sorry.
You can go.
All right, everyone, we'll move the confidential booklet. First item is and the technology.
No from the
Let us know, but thank you.